Thank you guys so much for your continued support. It just really means the world to me. Thank you to my Patreon members, to my listener support, to all the members on my YouTube channel that have joined the channel. Donations were never expected, so when I get them, it really touches my heart. So really, thank you for that. Thank you to anybody that shared my videos, likes them, subscribe to the channel, and commenting. Everything that interacts with the video helps the algorithm. So thank you for all that. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
So my name is Laysifer Fiore, but in the program I was known as Lace Dylan. And I went to Spring Creek Lodge Academy from July 2005 to July 2006. So I was there for basically a full year. I actually got kind of kicked out 2 weeks before my year date, though.
Okay. And walk us through what was going on before you got sent to the program and what led up to that?
So I get a lot kind of led up to the program. My parents, or I should say my mom mostly, I grew up in a very like constricted, conservative Christian home. So my parents never really knew how to deal with someone like me. I'm trans male. At the time I was a lesbian, so my parents were always, or my mom was always kind of sending me away to different places. So Spring Creek wasn't the first, place that she sent me away to. She sent me to different high schools. I think I've been to 6 schools in 4 years, but she sent me to military school first when I was 15, and that didn't really seem to work. That kind of actually started driving me into drinking. So I started drinking when I was 15, and because the military school didn't work and my mom could see that I was kind of like spiraling, she actually kicked me out of the house instead of finding me real help and kind of like let me be on the streets and that's when I became like I was popping a lot of pills. I was getting into some trouble. I was stealing, but it was mostly because I kind of had to. I was 15 living on my own, like off the street, so I didn't really know what I was doing. It was when I was 17 that I got in a fight with they were a rapist, and I beat them up really bad and sent them to the hospital to where their parents called my mom, and so I became like a liability living on the streets. And that's when my mom had me found kidnapped, and then shipped off to Spring Creek.
Okay, and walk us through the transport. What do you remember about that?
So it was super weird. So let's see. My parents kind of tricked me to come home. They couldn't find me because when they were looking for me, they were looking for somebody who actually had like longer hair. It was blonde, no physical face piercings or anything. And to disguise myself, I actually had shaved my head into a mohawk, and I pierced myself up so they couldn't find me. So they actually tricked me into coming home. My parents were kind of like, you know what? If you're going to be living on the streets anyways, we're going to, you just can have basically you can have your college funds to help you out or whatever. And I was like, okay, like my dumbass was just like, okay, sure. Like, that sounds like a good idea. I could really use that money. And then like, it's funny. It's like half my friends were like, no, that sounds kind of like a setup. And then some of the people that were friends with at the time were like, no, go get the money. Like, imagine the things that we can buy, like, kind of thing. And I was like, okay. So I actually willingly went to my parents' house. And then when I got there, there were two people there with my mom and my stepdad. And at the time, I didn't really think anything of it because my parents, my mom was always having her friends talk to me like, oh, can you try to talk to him and see like if he'll basically just to straighten me up and whatnot. And so I was kind of used to that, like, oh, these are my friends. That's what they told us. And they just want to talk to you about some stuff before we give you, you know, anything. And I was like, yeah, whatever, for sure. So I willingly went into a car with them thinking that we were like going to go at a sit down restaurant because I've been through something like this before with an actual friend of my mom's. And they started discussing like, oh, you know, your parents want to send you to a boarding school and yada yada. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Like they sent me to military school and that didn't work. So I was like, that's fine. I don't really care. Like they can try to send me where, like they can try to put me in another school. I didn't think it was anything like a big deal or anything. And I remember them getting on the phone though, and that's when they were like, oh yeah, yeah, he's going willingly. Like we're on our way to the airport right now. And that's when I was like, wait, airport? I was like, what do you mean? Like, why are we going to an airport? And they're like, oh, well, your boarding school's in Montana. And I'm like, I obviously didn't do well in school. So I'm like, where the fuck is Montana? Like, and I'm like, I don't know where that is. Like, that's when I started freaking out. And I actually started I started acting like I was gonna throw up. And because I could see that they had the doors locked and I didn't want to like so I don't I started feeling like acting like I was gonna throw up and like kind of like and I was like, can I roll down the window? Like I don't feel good and this and that. And they're like, oh yeah, yeah. They were because I was so I think willingly, they were like very nice to me at first. So they rolled down the window just fine for me. And I jumped the fuck out of that car. That's when they pulled over to the side and they start chasing after me. And Matt, and at the time, like I'm a tiny, like female, like 90 pound, maybe 100 pounds, and I'm wearing this tank top. And I remember this guy is fucking huge. And it was a girl and a guy, by the way. Like not even the girl tackled me. It was the fucking dude that tackled me. And when he went to tackle me, he like grabbed my, and I was wearing a tank top. He grabbed my shirt and like my bra at the time and like yanked it down. So then I'm also like flashing this street of cars that are driving by and I'm getting tackled to the floor by this fucking big ass dude, which I don't know how somebody didn't see this and like pull over and like what the fuck is going on. But no one like honked, nothing. They got me in handcuffs, threw me back in the car. I was definitely not willing at all at that point. I was kicking the fucking car door like because I was laying on my back and I was pissed like I ended up I mean, I eventually calmed down, but they had me in handcuffs the entire way through the plane ride. Like I felt like a fucking criminal. Like I was sitting in this airport in handcuffs, like looking all beat up. My hair's a fucking disaster. Like I was, yeah, it was really embarrassing. That's definitely something that I will never fucking forget ever. Like, yeah.
Okay. What do you remember about when you first got to the program? Did they buddy you up with somebody? Did they give you any sort of physical rule manual to look over? Walk us through what you remember.
You know what's funny is I don't remember the whole if they gave me a buddy at first. I do remember I got there at like some weird, like maybe like 2 or 3 in the morning. I have no idea what time it was. It was pitch black. And I remember when we got to Staff Central, they said they were talking on the walkies and they said that we couldn't go out while they were doing my intake. I remember them saying we can't go outside right now because there's bears walking around. And I was just like, bro, like, okay, there's just bears waltzing around this fucking this boarding school. I'm like, I'm like, I really don't know where my parents like got me into this time. But I don't really remember my intake too much besides that. And obviously them taking my stuff. I do remember they definitely did a strip search. Once I got to the cabin and into the bathroom, I do remember them doing a strip search. I do remember it being women though. Yeah. I don't remember getting the buddy at first though, which is odd. I remember waking up. I remember exactly what bunk I was on. I remember I was right by the AC, and I was freezing. Um, and I woke up in the morning, and I remember I remember all the girls um, cluttering around me and being like, "Oh, like, um, you look just like this girl that they just took out of this family like not too long ago." And somebody was like flipping out by the way that I was looking. I guess the girl that they had taken out of the family literally that same week, something happened to her. I'm not exactly sure what, but she had like a mohawk and she looked very similar to me. And it was I didn't know exactly what was going on, but some of the girls in there, I could tell they were triggered by me because they started flipping out and being like, "This is bullshit." Like they did this on purpose. And I do remember the mom at the time, her it was either Misty or Tina because that's who I had.
Oh my God, Misty. Holy shit.
Yeah. Um,
Okay,
I
so they
actually
put you. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought because I don't want you to forget what you were gonna say.
Um, Oh, I remember them telling that everybody like calm down, like stop talking, no talking. This is gonna like and like kind of breaking up everybody talking and stuff. So I wasn't really like I don't know. I just remember being very confused and then telling them like you have to be on silent like type deal. And I was like okay, like whatever. But no, that was my final thought.
Okay, so they put you in a girl's family then?
Yeah, because I'm a trans male, so I
Yeah.
was assigned at birth I was assigned female at birth. So yeah, I was in a female family.
Okay. And how many people were there on average if you had to estimate when you got there, and how many people were there when you left? Just like an estimation, doesn't have to be approximate or anything.
In the entire school. God,
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say because I know there was like 20 of us in each cabin. Um
And how many families were
and
there
then
at that time?
shoot,
For
I don't
girl on the
remember.
girls' side,
Let's
like
see, there was
four?
maybe four. Yeah, it's really blurry because I remember there was like integrity, charity. I was in charity. Um Integrity, serenity.
Yep.
Um, Gosh, I don't remember the other one. I feel bad. I'm like, yeah, there were like four families, I would say, but in the entire school, I want to say God, there's so many kids, 300 to five.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long after you got there, or first of all, how long after you got there did it take for you to realize that, for everything to sink in and for you to be like, where the fuck am I?
Oh, within the first week, it was looking out of windows. That's what got me. I was like, okay, no, this is not okay. Like, where the fuck am I? Because when they told me like, oh, you have to walk heel toe and you have to do gap checks and you have to do this, that. I went to military school, so I was kind of like, I got this. Like, what the fuck ever. Like, it was no big deal to me. I'm pretty optimistic when even when things are like going really bad. I try to like be like, whatever. Like, um, I've always been that way. But yeah, it was no looking out of windows, no talking to each other. That's what I was like, whoa, okay, this is not normal. Like we're in a pretty ass scenery and we can't look out the windows. That's what always got me in trouble. Actually, I stayed in lower levels basically the entire time until like 2 weeks before I turned 18. And then they pushed me into the upper levels for like a trial or whatever.
Experience, upper level experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How long after you got there did they put you through your first seminar? And what was the first seminar called? Was it orientation or discovery?
Um, you know
Because I
what?
got rid of orientation later on.
I want to say I went, I don't remember the discovery names. Unfortunately, like which ones I went to. I want to say, yeah, I went to Discovery and Orientation. And I went pretty soon afterwards. When I watched, okay, so I had forgotten all about the seminars until I watched the documentary.
Interesting.
And that's when everything clicked back and I was like, holy fuck, like I disassociated all of this. The documentary definitely like gave me like a lot of regression and flashbacks that I had covered up, and felt like it called me out a lot when it was talking about like the drug abuse, because I'm 5 years sober now, but I definitely got out and was like indulged immediately and was like 10 times worse than I was before I even went into the program. But um I'm so sorry. What was the question? I lost my train of thought.
I was asking what the first seminar you went to and if it was
Oh, yeah.
Discovery. So you can't really remember.
No, but I definitely remember the whole crawling around, like after watching that, the crawling around like a baby.
Yeah.
And the towels.
Yeah.
I remember them screaming in my face, making me scream and beating on the floor with this towel repeatedly. And I don't know, I got really grossed out watching that documentary and the seminars, and because I didn't realize how much I had forgotten about. And I used a lot of those quotes. So I managed for about 9 years, and a lot of those quotes that they posted in those on the walls and stuff, I would say, and I hate it so much. Like I realize it now. Like that's why I feel like I've regressed so much, because I'm having all these realizations and stuff too. Like I feel like I was a little brainwashed by those seminars, and I had no fucking clue until I watched it, and I was like, ew, oh my God, I say that shit. Like I would preach those quotes. That's bleh. um I don't remember my first seminar though, which one it was exactly, though, the names.
Okay. And how long were you there total?
11 and a half months. I got kicked out. My parents definitely would have kept me there as long as they could have. They tried. My mom was crying when they called when they called my when they called her to tell her to come get me, because they were going to enforce my exit plan. Because I was planning a riot. There's a whole thing to it. Like
Nice.
they sent me to, I was at the 18-year-old program for a few weeks. They had promised me to, my parents had promised me originally take me home when I was 18. They didn't take me home when I was 18. And then they were like, okay, just finish high school and then we'll take you home. And I was like, okay. So I finished high school. I was 18. I marked those off. And then they decided, actually, we want you to graduate like, we want you to do this. We want you to follow all the steps and stuff. And so I got really discouraged, and I tried to take my own life at the eternal program. And instead of them trying to find me like actual help, because that's what I told my parents, is like, I just want, like, I want real help. Like, this isn't helping me. Like, this is making me more depressed. Like, I'm just not, like, so instead of finding the actual help, they sent me, as an 18-year-old, they sent me back to the minor facility and had me like on lockdown all the fucking time.
They sent you back to Spring Creek?
Yeah. And
Interesting.
yeah, I know. And I know now legally they couldn't have done that. So I'm actually looking into how I can um, maybe press charges or do something about that, because that is actually a kidnapping of an adult.
Yes,
I
it's
know that
trafficking.
now. What was that?
It's trafficking.
Yeah, yeah. So I spent a few weeks back at the facility as with the minors, and then in lockdown a lot though. But then I started planning a riot, and I remember Tina is the
It's
one.
Tina.
Miss Tina was the one to tackle me, and then they dragged my ass to Staff Central, and that's when they called my parents and said, you need to take them home because we're going to enforce their exit plan. And I was like,
What year were you there?
from 2005 to 2006. So I got kicked out 2006.
It's interesting to me that they didn't threaten you with like sending you to Jamaica and that they just kicked you out. It's
I think
interesting.
Yeah, maybe it's because I was 18. I don't.
Probably that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, because now that I know, at the time I didn't know, like my parents were always very controlling, like of my life. So I just, my, I was just, I literally could have just walked out there, but my exit plan was to walk out with the clothes on my back. Um, and first getting there, knowing that there's bears, there were several people who had those, there was two boys, I believe, that had, I think they passed away from leukemia from swimming, trying to swim across the lake. So there were several stories that hurt that, I just kept refraining me from wanting to even walk out of there. I was like, I feel like this is just gonna be my death note walking out of there. So I kind of just like hung out, but yeah.
Okay. You say you stayed on level 1 for most of your program. Were you getting removed a lot? Were you spending a lot of time in study hall and or the Hobbit?
Study hall, I was in there all the time. And then I know for sure at least once in the Hobbit. I want to say it was 2 times, but I know for sure I spent one time in there because I got in trouble for I was scraping letters on the walls with my nails, and I remember getting in trouble for that. And that's when they
What
put
did they
me.
give you, a vandalism?
Yeah, they gave me vandalism, and I spent like 4 days or something in there. And then they had me on my stomach most of the time, chin to the floor, because I was vandalizing things. I was just kind of like a little, I just didn't care. I was like, this is such bullshit.
Yeah, that was me for my first 12 months there. I rebelled until they threatened me with Jamaica, and they said, we're just going to send you there, and then we're just going to tell your parents you're there afterwards if you don't shape up. And so I
Yeah.
was like, and everybody told me horror stories, so I was like, yeah, fuck that. I'll just become a robot then, I guess, and do what the fuck you want me to do.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Like, if I was younger, if they sent me there when I was 15, I probably would have eventually given in and just fucking did the program. But the fact that I was 17 at the time, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, no, fuck this. So, but yeah, I know. I'm sorry that you had to go through all that and actually graduate it and get threatened and shit.
Oh, I survived.
Yeah.
Sorry you had to go through what you had to go through too. Do you remember how many seminars you ended up going through by chance? Do you remember if you went to PC1?
I did actually. Yeah, I do remember that one.
Uh,
Um, I do remember that because my parents came, they brought my siblings in. I was able to see them for a little bit at the end. Um,
how was
I,
that, seeing your siblings?
Seeing my siblings was awesome. Um, Unfortunately, I don't speak to one of them anymore. Most of my family's cut me off um, when I decided to transition, and because I wouldn't like follow in their steps or whatever, and go to church and whatnot, all of that kind of stuff. They kind of just like this, I don't exist to them really. So, but at the time, it was really awesome to see my siblings mostly. My parents, I didn't really care.
Okay. And what was the worst thing that you saw or heard about when you were there?
Um, it was definitely um, it was definitely the deaths that happened. The young lady that took her life, that hung herself in the bathroom.
You were there during that time?
I had just gotten there. Like literally I just got there, and then that happened like 2, 3 days after, and after I got there, and I was just like, dude, and I remember trying to tell my parents in a letter, and they uh, I mean they always said I was making everything up. They always were like, yeah, they're lying. They're making that up. I'm like, that was probably the most like there was an there was an incident that will never like get out of my mind, unfortunately. Was there was a female that was on her period, and they would not let her go to the bathroom for some fucking reason. I don't know why. um and she ended up pulling her tampon out in the middle of room in front of everybody and the mom, and then she got in trouble even though they wouldn't let her go to bathroom. It was like this whole weird ordeal. That's something that's like drilled in my head. I also saw, unfortunately, one of my sisters. There was this day, I don't know why, but we had a radio in our room, and they were letting us listen to the radio, and Eminem came on the radio, I remember, and one of my sisters like freaked out, like, "Oh my God, I love Eminem." It was a good song too. It wasn't even like one of the inappropriate songs. It was like Toy Soldier or something like that. I forget. It was one of the like, I don't know, nicer songs of Eminem. And my family mom, she was like, nope, change it like right away. And the sister, like, held on to the boombox, wouldn't let her do it. So she actually slammed her head into, and we had metal bunks. It weren't like, they were metal, and she slammed her head into the metal bunk. And yeah, that sucked. That everybody was just like quiet. Radio went off, and we were like, okay, the fun day is over. That sticks in my mind a lot. And definitely seeing a lot of kids just being tackled. It's just like walking to your class as a robot and just seeing a kid running and getting fucking slammed down and tackled. Like that's, yeah. Um, those stick out to me a lot.
Okay. Did you ever get to go to the library when you were there? And if you did you read any good books?
I had forgotten about the library until one of my sisters sent me a picture of us in the library, and I was like, click, like, holy fuck, I forgot about that. And I remembered I finished was out at the time, the whole Harry Potter's series.
Nice. Nice. Okay. And did you witness or hear about any grooming from staff to student or student on student or any sexual abuse happening?
Definitely. There was definitely an inappropriate relationship with one of the family moms and one of the girls. And I'm pretty sure it was the family next to me. I think it was Integrity, that Destiny, maybe. Oh, Destiny, that's the other family. That was next to me. Yeah, there was a grooming and inappropriate relationship happening over there.
Okay. Did you like hear about like what kind of thing happened, or just like was it something you just like kind of heard about, or was it something that you like witnessed?
No, something I heard about. Yeah. And I don't know the full details. I do know that it was like a willingly thing. Like it was definitely grooming involved and a whole like
Love bombing, probably.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I definitely heard about that while I was in there. I don't know if something happened to the staff. I can't remember. But I do remember that it was like a very like open, like it happened, like it was happening.
Okay. Did people give you a hard time for having transitioned?
You know, in the program I didn't, my pronouns were not they, he yet. So I didn't really care. People definitely, when they knew that I was a lesbian, though, my family that I was in, I'm very grateful for the family that I was in, Charity. They definitely treated me like family. I don't feel like I got any retaliation like about being a lesbian. My family, mom Tina, definitely was homophobic. Um, so she would say certain things, but I also kind of give it granted she's also a lot older. So I didn't take too offensive, but she would say things like "stop that gay shit," like And I remember she would like tell us like not touch each other and this and that, and she would say weird things like that. But I don't remember anybody treating me too differently because I was a lesbian. There was definitely note passing happening, though. Like I remember I was note passing to several different girls in the other families just because we thought each other were cute or whatever. But
Okay. And let's see. Um, so what happened with your exit plan when you left? What
My
ended up
ex,
happening with that? How did you end up getting back home?
my parents actually got a plane ticket for me and took me back home. Um, right when I got home, they tried they want me to follow by all of these basically program type rules. I need to go to church twice a week, which was like every Sunday and like a weekday of some sort for class. I don't know. They laid down all these things and I was like, nope. And I was out within 2 days. Like I moved right out. So
So did they try and set you up with a life contract prior to going home?
when I got home. I think that's what they were trying to do. They tried to get me into because when I listened to some of your other story or your other podcasts, and some of them were talking about that life contract, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like what my parents were trying to get me into when I moved home. Yeah, they didn't try before. Definitely right when I got home though, they were like, here you go. And I was like, nope.
Okay. And talk about reintegration into society. What have you struggled with the most? What's still hard to you to this day?
Oh man, snapping back into reality was weird. And even nowadays, like I struggle with social anxiety to
Yeah.
the max. And I can literally sit in silence for a very long time, which I didn't notice before until I actually like watched that documentary again and realized that like I can just sit in silence like and be like, and I'm like, oh, that's like, oh man. But the social anxiety is, I think, is what mostly because I'm always been very, very social beforehand, and now I'm like
So was
very
I.
awkward. I sweat, like even this, the interaction, like with phone calls, like anything, like and the phone calls. That's what's weird. I hate phone calls, like, and I think
So
it's
do I.
because
Yeah.
of we only got phone calls like once every like 3 months or so, depending on how well you acted. And they were always bad. They were like never good phone calls. I was always getting yelled at, and my family mom was always taking the phone out of my hand and hanging it up because I was manipulating my parents, even though I was actually being honest with them. But um, yeah, it was weird. I dove into drugs immediately and more than I actually because before I went to the program like I drank a lot and I dabbled here and there with pills but after the program man I was doing meth, I smoked heroin, I tried it all because I heard all these stories in the program. I was
Yeah.
like, that sounds
Yeah.
fun. Like I was like, I want to try it all. Like I had this like weird goal of like, I want to do it all. I'm not gonna have anybody tell me what to do, and I'm gonna fucking just go ham. And
Exactly.
I lived like that for a very long time until about 5 years ago, and that's when I started. I started my transition. Then I went sober. I moved out of California. Like I changed a bunch of stuff, and it's crazy because like it took it took like 15 years for me to snap out of what the program basically did to me. And I didn't realize, even now I'm like, oh my God, like I have to like, I'm retraining myself. I feel like I got called out because I never seeked help. When, they said in the documentary about like, a lot of these folks won't seek therapy because they've been harmed in the name of therapy. I felt very called out. I've never ask for help because I have a weird thing about asking people for help. I feel like even if I ask people for help, they're not gonna help me. Um, it's it's weird. So I guess those are a couple more things of how I acted when I got out of the program.
What made you get clean finally?
Rock bottom. Um, I had I just realized I was hitting this like repetitive pattern all the time. I crashed my car. I had this like 5 car accident. I hit a moving car on the freeway, and then 4 cars I sideswiped. I ended up almost getting arrested that night, and then I lost my graveyard job. I lost my morning job because I didn't wake up. I didn't go to my job. I didn't wake up from my other job, and I was already on thin ice. Um, so it was kind of just like I just hit rock bottom. I was losing the place that I was living. It was everything. And I just realized, I was like, you know what? It's all these drinking, this cocaine, the drugs, like and the thing is I don't remember anything about the car accidents. I only know about them because I got arrested a year later for them. And they're like, you're wanted for these hit and runs. And I was like, oh, that's what happened to my car. But, and then, yeah, that's basically what made me go sober. I was just too many bad things happening, losing my jobs over and over, repetitive cycles.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I have 3 years sober. Well, sort of like I smoke weed and I'm on
Oh
methadone.
yeah, I smoke weed too. That
Yeah.
doesn't count. Doesn't
Yeah.
count.
Some people are like, you're not sober. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm more sober than the majority of people. So
Hell yeah, you
and
are.
I'm not doing my DOC. So
Yeah, exactly. No, congratulations.
yeah. So I commend you for that. What about where are you at with your parents? Have you tried talking to your parents how this place affected you? Have they watched the program? Do you want them to watch the program? If you tried to get them to watch it, do you think you could ever forgive your parents? I've forgiven my parents, but I'll never forget what they did to me. That's always going to be in the back of my mind. Where are you with your parents?
So unfortunately, my biological father hasn't been in the picture since I was like 4. So, but my mom, I've tried several times to build a relationship with her, and it just doesn't seem to. It just doesn't work out. She's very stuck in her ways. She's very programmed. It's
Yep.
crazy now that I have all these realizations. Now I'm like, oh wow, you're really programmed. Like the things that she
Yep.
says, that she thinks I'm still manipulative liar, and she uses those words all the time. And it's crazy because I didn't even realize that they told them that in those contracts, until I watched the documentary, and I was like, oh, that's where she got those fucking words. Oh, okay, cool. Like, um, my parents do not speak to me. I tried to get them to watch the program. I actually my so my mom will randomly, like, it's funny, she'll she'll start these group chats. And if it's beneficiary to her, she'll add me in them, but she's not talking directly towards me. She's just like sending pictures of her like running these campaigns and the assemblies and all these stuff because she's running for Congress and all this bullshit in California. Um, and so she likes to like shove that in my face, but she doesn't actually talk to me. She hasn't wished me happy birthday in like 6 years, like maybe even more than that. Like, um, never like says anything for holidays. Like she she just likes to shove things in my face. So when the program came out, like I couldn't help myself in that group chat. I just let them know. I was just like, hey, like in a very respectful way too. I was just like, hey, just so you know, like this documentary came out on the program that you guys sent me to. And I would really love if you could just check it out so you could see that everything that I said was actually true.
Exactly.
And instead of them being like, oh, here, let me check it out. Like most of my family actually did check it out. But my parents flipped out. They actually started attacking my mom started attacking her sister and her mom. And I only know that because they told me. They were like, apparently my mom was like, what set Lace off? Like, what set him off? Like, why are they being all crazy and like sending this message right now? And I'm like, I'm literally just asking you to watch this. Like, and I'm not being set off. Like, I mean, I kind of was set off.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
um, but yeah, no, they actually have blocked me now from contacting them at all. Like yeah, on anything. Um,
Unbelievable.
yeah, yeah, they won't take the time. And it's wild because she's literally running for Congress and fighting for against kids being incarcerated
Oh
and all
wow.
of this.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, didn't you
It's
do
like
that to
it's
your
almost like she's like trying to show you here, I'm doing something about it, but I'm not going to listen to your what actually happened to you, which is
Yeah,
fucking really
it's
kind
a
of
mind.
backwards, dude.
That's that's what I say. I'm like, I'm like, you're such a like ass backwards person. Like that's fucking wild to me, but yeah. Thank you for noticing that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay, so if you could go back in a time machine, knowing what you know now and not go through Spring Creek, would you do it and why?
Knowing what I know now,
Yeah.
I would definitely go back and do it again. And I would do things very different. Um,
How so?
um, I probably would retaliate a lot more, to be honest with you. I probably would have been a lot more of a shithead, and I probably would have taken my exit plan. I probably would just walked out of there. Now that I like realize that, now that I know that it's not that far out of town, like people can just like walk out, and like yeah, maybe it is like quite a mile of a walk. Just don't swim across that lake.
Yeah.
Um,
It's about 30 miles. You could make it. You could make
yeah,
it.
yeah,
It wouldn't be easy, but it'd doable as long as you didn't get eaten by some animals,
yeah.
which is a possibility in Montana.
Yeah. I think I think I would have I would the only reason that I would do it again is because of the people that I've met. Um I love them so much. The girls I met, like, and I met you, like there's just so many cool people that I've been able to connect with through the program. And that is literally the only reason why I would go back to do it again. I would not, it definitely would not be something that I would recommend anybody to do for their kids. I think it's a horrible thing to fucking do to your kid. I think it's definitely like some sort of abuse. Um, but yeah, that's the only reason I would go back and do it. And then knowing what I knew now, yeah, there would be so many different things that I would do. Like, God, I'd have so much fun.
Definitely. And yeah, I don't know. I would have found, I don't know. I just wish that we could have taken pictures about what was going on the inside or some shit. Like, I don't know. There's not that many pictures of Spring Creek, and they touched on it a little bit in the program, but like I'm actually like in the brainstorming phases of trying to make a Spring Creek Lodge documentary. I'm just not
That'd
sure
be
exactly
dope.
how to do it because I want Spring Creek Lodge was a beast in itself in its own ways.
Absolutely.
And it changed a lot over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It actually got a lot worse, and then it started to get better towards the end. But uh, let me see. Okay, I spaced for a second.
It's okay. That's me. That's me every hour.
Okay, so is it your belief that these schools should or even could be fully regulated, or is it your belief that they should all be shut down, knowing what you know now?
The program style, how they run the point system and all that, no, it should not exist. Um, I don't think that these I, see, I feel like there should be some type of regulation for kids that may be that act maybe it troubled, like, but not this route. Like these schools are they make it so it makes everything so much worse. Um, the constant like the point system, no, it shouldn't exist. I wish there was an like an alternative like solution that I could think of, but um just take your kids to therapy, get them a counselor of some sort to talk to. That's what I think, because if I feel like if my parents did that first, because they didn't even get me a psychiatrist or a therapist first, like they just went right to the extreme, sent me to military school, shipped me to different schools to try to keep me from making like being too close to friends, and then shipping me there. It's like it was always just the extremities. Like, don't go to the extremities, talk to your kids, take them to therapy, like things like that. Like, don't be just a parent, also be a friend. I don't know. I feel like no, these schools they need to be done.
For sure. Okay, I have two more questions for you. One, did they make you did they try and make you admit to shit that you'd never done before when you were there?
Um,
Like admitting to you use drugs, so like, but like maybe like getting abused or something, or something that never happened to you that they were trying to pressure you into admitting that it happened to you? Did that ever happen?
So that didn't happen, but it was kind of like the opposite what happened. Like anything that I said happened to me, they told me, no, it didn't. That didn't happen to you.
So they gaslit you pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of gaslighting, like, nope, that could never happen to you, like, and shoot it down. Um, it was a lot of that. Just, nope, you're a liar. You're lying about it. I'm just like, okay.
Okay. And so what do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away? Have you thought about that? What do you think would have been better for you? What do you think
It's like
would have helped you?
a psychiatrist. I actually was, after I got out of the program, and I had seen just a couple just doctors, just I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which actually makes me after I watched the documentary and stuff and like listened to a couple like your podcasts and stuff, it made me kind of reevaluate, and I actually have been going through being re-diagnosed because I might have, because right away when I have been talking to a therapist now, and right away he was like, you have CPSTD, like right away. And I was like, okay, well, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he was saying that those two are actually very similar,
Yep.
or they can be. And I was like, okay, so I might be misdiagnosed then. But I feel like if my parents listened to me, got me a therapist when I was younger first, that would have helped me so much more. Just having understanding parents. But unfortunately, I don't have understanding parents. I don't think I ever will. So I don't think I would have ever even, that would have ever been a solution for them, is actually getting me help. They just wanted to kind of ship me away. But yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
And no, you're good. And is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Um, just kind of what I've touched on before, like just don't even look into sending your kids away. um Build that relationship with them, get to know them, listen to what they have to say, seek therapy with them, type of deal. These schools are just way more damaging than they are helpful. um yeah, that's that's what I would say.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you ever want to do part two, just take a couple notes and let me know, and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I noticed, do you make music, or you DJ?
I do. I do both. Yeah.
We should definitely collab because I make music too.
I was thinking that actually. I was like, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, you do that. Yeah. We
Yeah,
should.
for
I'm
sure,
down with
for
that.
sure. All right, we'll definitely stay in touch. And so for anybody that's been watching the video, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, share. Let's keep on getting this podcast out there. We're actually, like 3/4 of the way almost to 1,000 subscribers. So let's keep kicking ass and getting the word out there about these things. I never thought it was going to make this much impact. So just keep on keeping on, and make sure you leave a comment down below about your experience, so people can relate. A lot of the time in the comment, people relate to a lot of the comments too. So plus it
Hell yeah.
interacts with the video. So I appreciate all you guys. Thank you, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.